ministries. There was a minister of correctional service, there was a minister of justice, etc., etc. And those were not consulted at all.
I think his statement says so, again, that he did not consult.
Now, so we agree that the minister was completely wrong.
To do what? Despite, yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, there's you call him Mary, if I remember.
Mary.
Dihas. He says that
she.
Yeah, she. She says that you are a disgraced minister. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just reading what he wrote here.
I don't agree with it.
You don't agree with that? And you said you don't recognize Patricia Machale, if I remember well.
I don't recognize or remember her.
No, you remember her. What I'm saying that whatever Patricia is saying, it doesn't hold water according to you, am I right?
Correct.
There's another gentleman who said he wrote you many letters. He calls Fikile Mbambi. Have you ever received any letter from him?
Who is that gentleman?
Fikile Mbambi from Cape Town, from Kayelisha.
Fikile Mbambi.
Yes.
I don't remember the name.
You don't remember the name. No. Now, when you were talking to my colleague here, you said that there's around almost 200 members who are deployed here in Cape Town. Am I right? Mm-hmm. At the cost of 800 rand, I think, for accommodation, there's food, there's cars, you know, you've mentioned all those things combined to say that, you know, they are trying to help the people of Cape Town. You mentioned Delphi, you mentioned Philippi and other areas. Because in this country, Minister, you know, issue of drugs is a problem.
Issue of
drugs.
Yes, yes.
And in particular, in the Western Cape. Am I right? I'm not saying in other provinces there's no drugs. But in particular, in the Western Cape, we have a serious problem of drugs. And Gauteng, we have a similar problem.
Yes.
We have a similar problem in the Eastern Cape, in almost all the provinces.
Now I agree.
Thank you. Ngiye ngathi ngizotshintsha ngibuyele ngapha. Abantwana bethu sebangathi amazumbi ngendaba yama drugs.
Ngathi amazulu.
Ngathi amazumbi.
Oh.
Umuntu uthi ahamba alele. Uthi umuntu ahleli amile. Sinenkinga enkulu engicabanga ukuthi nawe usese khona usaphethe. Azange uyikhona lento yama drugs, am I right?
If you say angizange ngiyikhona, you mean to eradicate and finish it?
Yes.
Definitely it was not eradicated, but a lot of work and a lot of disbandment of the laboratories, a lot of big bust of the ships and all that, it did happen.
Now, ngiyavuma ukuthi akunamuntu onganaphutha, Minister. And I think as well, as you said, you know, bathi uma uvuma kuba ngcono kunokuthi uwale amaphutha owenzayo. Siyavumelana lapha ngithi?
Well, it's a human nature to commit mistakes, but it's also a good human nature to accept once you realize that you have made a mistake. It's a good thing to do.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi njengoba ushilo nawe uma usithumela le submission i-statement sakho esila ezinjoba ngeke ngasho ekuqaleni ukuthi mangikulalele kahle ubugceka kakhulu abantu abavele abasebenze after you or abasebenze before you njengoba ngike ngababala iphutha lakho ke endosi engilibonileyo mina mangiloku ngikulalele ukuthi akekho umuntu owenze ngcono ukudlula wena ngabe mhlambe ngibambe kahle
Ngikushongo lokho. Uthi kushiwo yimina ukuthi ngenze ngcono ukudlula wonke umuntu.
No, ngisho ukuthi the way uzipresente ngakhona is like wonke umuntu oke waba uminister in particular. Njengoba ngeke ngakhuluma ngenda beside indaba yaseKhatomana ukuthi unathi may his soul rest in peace. No senzo Mkhunu kunamaphutha amaningi abawezile. Unathi ukhulume ngeyi1 uthize iKhatomana, am I right?
Can I remind you how many ministers I have counted?
Yes, 7.
So I've presented myself. I did not present on behalf of Minister Umthethwa or Minister Umkhunu. They can present themselves and then you can make your assessment on that.
Njengoba ke uke wezwa alana uminister osuspendiwe. Kuye kwezwakala ukuthi wacela uchief of staff wakhe ukuthi a record inkulumo yakhe ayikhuluma no provincial commissioner Mkhwanazi. Leso senzo ungasibona kuyisenzo esi right ngokwazi kwakho umthetho.
Well ngokwazi kwami ukuthi umuntu mayezokurecorda for instance mawufonela ebank ufonela insurance ufonela phi uyawonishwe utshelwe ukuthi uzorekhodwa. I think into wrong ukuthi ungakwenza lokho having not told anybody ukuthi uzokwenza, especially umuntu osukuzokhuluma nawe ucingweni ukuthi ungamtsheli ukuthi uzomrecord. Ngicabanga ukuthi into wrong.
Ukhona siseselapho ngicabanga ukuthi nawe waye waba concern ukuthi kunamaphoyisa athumela amafoni elinye iphone number beyakho ngongayekho emthethweni bayithumela ku batch ku judge ukuthi bakhona ukunilalela ukuthi nikhuluma ini ngalawo magama ngisho ukuthi uminister osuspendiwe ucommittee icrime ngokwenza njalo ungabe ungavumelana nami?
I would agree that wrong, but to commit a crime, I will wait for the lawyers to tell. I don't want to venture at the area where I'm completely incompetent when it comes to law.
Ngiyabonga. Ngibuye ke ngize la izolo ngicabanga ukuthi before sizoceda kuye kwaba ne-issue ke wayiraise lana yokuthi kune-issue ke wayiveza la engicabanga ukuthi ke kwenzeke kahle ukuthi uye wayiphika indaba yokuthi kune mhlambe into oyitholile ubunqane obutholile kodwa uGeneral Mkhwanazi uye wayi-withdraw leyo nto ngicabanga ukuthi sikhulumile ngayo angikhola ukuthi mhlambe uphatheke kabi minister kuleyo ngoba use-withdrawile uGeneral Mkhwanazi.
Uyangibuza ukuthi ngiphatheke kabi noma ngiphatheke kahle?
Yes.
Hayi ngiphathekile nje.
Uphathekile njani ngiyabonga. Now ngiyacabanga ukuthi kuye kwaba nenkinga lapha uke wathi benibo minister ne4 if I remember well. Wafa abantu abaningi bakithi lapha ePhoenix. Ngabe kukhona ongasitshela kona ukuthi kuyakwanelisa imphumela omhlambe ama arrest enzekile after what happened lapha ePhoenix?
Noma ngazi manje honorable member ukuthi hamba kanjani amacala kodwa baningi abantu ababoshwa. There was a special team under Brigadier Cele that was working there, and the last time I checked, there were about 12 people that were arrested there. But I don't know the status of the cases at the present moment.
hayi bangihluphi ngoba isizwe asijabulanga ngento le eyenzeke lapha ePhoenix and babona ngathi umthetho awukho ngathi le ndaba ayikhulunyiswa akunamuntu okhuluma ngayo yaphela nje kanjalo kibo bonke abantu abake bafika la ngifaka nawe ngaphakathi ngizwile ukukhuluma iconcern yakho ngeCato Ridge kuphela but iissue yase Phoenix hence ngikubuza yona ukuthi iyagculisa ngendlela yahamba ngakhona na
angase ngikhulume nje ngeCato Ridge.
No, I'm talking iCato, not Cato Ridge, le okhuluma ngayo.
Cato what?
iCato Mano.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Ukuthi kuyakhulunywa ngayo, kuyakhulunywa nangezinye, kodwa le yase Phoenix ngathi akunamuntu ufuna ukuyibamba.
No, umbuzo honorable member ngeCato Phoenix. I said last time I checked, there were quite a number of people ababeboshiwe. So I don't know what is the status now, but there were people, some by then have been found guilty and doing some years. So it might not have been adequate, but there was a response in terms of the law dealing with the matters of Phoenix.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Apologies, Honorable Skosana, for interrupting you. It's a follow-up question, Chair, arising from a question which was asked by Honorable Skosana in relation to political matters which took place in Mpumalanga, which was followed by the General's visit, wherein he made commitments of making arrests. Now, the question general is, after visiting Mpumalanga and making commitments therein, were there any systems that you put in place thereafter to ensure that you meet the commitments that you made in Mpumalanga? And if there are any, what progress was there while you were still the minister? Because we can't expect you to know now because we are not a minister, so we are no longer in charge of the organization. But at the time when we were there as a minister, what progress did you leave in relation to that issue? And did you ever go back to the people of Mpumalanga and say, these are the systems that have put in place, and this is progress that we have made so far? Because the issue of political killings is a very serious issue. So I was really not satisfied, Chair, with a response that he gave that he doesn't know. And that I think it arose maybe from an impression that we are asking about his knowledge at this point. Kandi, the question was asking about his knowledge while he was still the minister of police. Thank you.
When I went there, I went with the provincial commissioner, honorable member. And the provincial commissioner was to put something special to deal with the matter. Well, Mpumalanga people will tell you that what has happened to the provincial commissioner himself is part of the problem that we are facing. It started there after that. So I don't know the progress, because a person that was supposed to lead that in terms of the provincial commissioner putting those teams had a problem herself, suspended. I think is under, I don't know where it is now, but by the time I left, she was suspended and not on job and all, which I guess then that jeopardized the progress of those operations that was supposed to continue.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi angigculisekanga ke ngendlela ophendule ngayo, kodwa ke ngizochubeka ngoba lesithembiso wazenza njengesithembiso owasenza masikhuluma ngeissue yakaSenzo Meyiwa killing. Wathembisa ukuthi umuntu ozoboshwa kufefamily yakhe, umuntu ozoboshwa oyedwa ubekhona ngaphakathi endlini la kwabulawela khona uSenzo. But up to today akunamuntu ophuma lapha endlini oboshiwe. Ngabe ngiright lapha?
Wrong.
Ukhona oseboshiwe?
Wrong ukuthi ngenza leso sithembiso.
No, wasenza leso sithembiso is on record, but ke if uyala is fine. But that's what I'm saying ukuthi wathembisa ilizwe la ekhaya.
Wrong,
No, ngiyavuma. Ungasho ukuthi ngirong uku-right kodwa ke mina ngithi
wrong, right.
ya ngisho ukuthi ke minister angabi ngathi siyalwa silwe ne. Mina ngifuna ukubuza nje ukuthi uyayala nokuthi wathembisa ukuthi umuntu omunye okhona ngaphakathi uzobotshwa obeke khona uma kudutshulwa usenzo. Zange utsho njalo.
Sengiphendulile lapho.
Okay, ngiyabonga. Uma ubheka njengoba kukhulunywe ngeissue yokuthi uMatlala might have been the one uminister umchunu obefuna afande i-presidential ambition yakhe or u-deputy or u-president in the next coming ANC conference. Ungabe wena leyo nto uyayikholwa noma uyikholwa? Ukuthi lempi ekhona engaka esiphoyiseni abanye bazokhuluma ngokuthi hence kwakhanselwa necontract yakaMatlala is because something went very wrong kule meeting efanele ibe khona phakathi kwakhe eyenzeka phakathi kwakhe nomhoshi odawumazi uBrown Mkhwanazi. Ngoba after that kwakhanselwa icontract yakaMatlala. Mhlambe ungabe ngokunye ngokucabanga kwakho ukuthi this functional battle noma nje into eyenzeka ngoba fanele yenzeka?
I think Lama battle started before the cancellation.
Yeah. Njoba sengizovala nginikeze umlingani wami. Ngizovala ngale yokuthi uma fika lana uMkhwanazi ku statement sakhe asinikeze sona. Uthi ispolisa samoshakala ngo-2007. Ngo-2007 kwenzeka ukuthi kucala kubizwana amaphoyisa abizana comrade. Kwaba namabhrayi enziwayo ePulukwane. Azange kuphinde amaphoyisa ahlonipheke or ahloniphane. Kwaqala ama-faction ngaleso sikhathi. Ngabe uyavuma kulokho?
Angivumi.
Uthi akucala ngaleso sikhathi ngabe kuqale nini ukuliwa esiphoyiseni i-top management ngokwakho ukwazi?
So lokho abakhona amaphoyisa.
Lokho abakhona amaphoyisa. Nawe uma ukhona leyo impi yaqhubeka injalo.
Yep.
So uthi iqale ngo-1994. Not ngikhuluma nge-new dispensation, angikhulumi ngalawa kudala abangasimelanga. Lento iqale 1994 ukulwa.
Ngiyavumelana nawe.
Ngiyabonga. Sengizonikeza ke umlingani wami aqedelele njengoba uchairman said avumile. Ngiyabonga.
Can we speak, Chair? You can pass to another person, Chair. As the MK party, we have exhausted all our questions. We don't want to speak for the sake of speaking.
I'm giving you a standing ovation today. Chief Whip. Chief Whip.
Oh, no. Thanks, Chair. Thanks a lot, General. Good afternoon. I know that many questions have been asked and answered, so I shouldn't be that long. And I'm going to try and rephrase the question for you to address a specific issue. For instance, in your submitted Sona affidavit, General, you speak about General Mdluli, the decision about his suspension, but you also talk about on the same paragraph that you were directed by the then minister and deputy minister to fire General Shabalala. Now, what I want to understand here, what is it that is so special about Mdluli? Who is Mdluli? And where does the country come from with Mdluli? Because he emerges as somebody very central to whatever that has happened in our security cluster over the past a decade or two. Who is the man?
Well, I really don't have extra information than what I have. Mduli became the head of the crime intelligence in June, when I became the head of South African police administratively in July. I am told that the way he was employed was a panel of ministers chaired by the Minister of Police. I think there was a Minister of Intelligence at the time who happened to, I guess, was Dr. Cele. I think there were other ministers. There were about 4, I can't remember who they are. That makes him a little bit special, Mduli, from the very word go, because I've never seen a TTG having such a panel of the ministers. But one thing that was quite significant, there was an acting police commissioner then, General Williams, or Commissioner Williams, and I'm told was not part of that panel. This is a DDG, but the DG of that department is not part of that panel. That's quite interesting. Mduli, his background, this is under correction, so that I don't lie under oath. I fight with Mr. Skosana. So his history looks like it comes from the police anyway, but was belonging to this branch, that infamous branch called Special Branch. Looks like that's where it comes from. And those that they know him, they said he would be a not a very kind guy. Those that have been in the hands of Special Branch, they would understand how they would treat you, those guys. They were not nice at all. So it looks like he was part of those guys. But also looks like he was person that people were scared of him, because the arrest looks like was suspected, because I don't think was ever found guilty, was suspected of murder, which had nothing to do with the work, which was a kind of a social matter, because it looks like a person that was murdered because he interfered with his girlfriend. So sounds like that. So he's a person that would you know him to be brutal both work and socially, but it's a person that I wouldn't know him too much, because he spent his time reporting to the minister and the president rather than reporting to the national commissioner.
No, thank you. You know, I'm asking this question because in your submission, you made an important observation that essentially the time at which the country started to regress in terms of its capability to defeat crime in our country was more or less around the same time, around that time, when such characters were being appointed, and let alone the way in which that character was appointed. But you also made references to the fact that as a consequence of your refusal to act, or the way in which you acted towards him, you acquired some enemies. And I think the enemies that you acquired also included, if I read your statement very well, the head of state of that time. Now, you know, there is a theory that may not enjoy popularity in our country, but it's there. And because it exists, it's supposed to be dissected. That there's always been people either who were infiltrated in the movement that led us into liberation, or who were inherited by the democratic state after 1994 remain in the system, but always working hard day and night to bring the very system down. Do you think these are coincidences that here pops up Mdluli, gets appointed in a very funny way, and the situation changes right from that period? Of course, with the then National Commissioner Pierre assuming the reins, and the destruction of the security cluster happens unabated. Would you say these are just mere coincidences, or this is maybe one of the manifestations of an intervention that is done deliberately to weaken the democratic state at the security level?
Honorable member, maybe one important thing to say about Mdluli. He was suspended for 8 years. He was under suspension for 8 years. And remember that you hire nobody if a person is suspended. So he was earning his salary without any hindrance as suspended. Yet there was no head of the crime intelligence. So there is that gap until he was fired by Mbalula, as Mbalula comes, and I came after Mbalula, but was suspended and earning the salary for eight years. So it could be both him getting involved, but also there was this lacuna that was there because there was no head. But broadly, from the world of security, honorable member, there are no structures that are not infiltrated by opposition. That's your take, that's bottom line. They even say, when you're operative intelligence, they give you a beautiful, good information, you must be worried because information is forever on the exchange. So you wonder, as they give him such a good information, how much good information he or she gives on the other side.
It's a game of trade-offs.
Yeah.
I give you this one, you give me the other one. Now, General, the issue, you know, when we listen to Minister Mkhunu, part of his consideration, and not only him, I think General Sbia as well, there's this issue about the amount of money that was spent on the PKTT. I know you said earlier on that's not a terrain that you would have been directly involved. And I remember Minister Mkhunu saying that we may have to ask the AG or somebody else to conduct an audit. But where I want to get an understanding from you, was there ever any moment where a focused discussion during your tenure takes place with regard to the impact on the finances of SAPS of the work of the PKTT? Was there ever any, and if there was, including maybe possible abuse that may involve the S&T or the overtime? So was there any focused discussion on the matter? And if there was, any actions were taken maybe to mitigate the possibility of the system being exploited?
I think this one of abuse, there have been some specific examples that were made, Chairperson, that the operatives and the police were sleeping on posh hotels. They've mentioned one. I hear people saying that Beverly Hills is a top-notch. There is a top-notch hotel next to Beverly called Oyster. Oyster Box. That is a really top-notch. That's a really top-notch something. So there is an accusation. There is an accusation that we're sleeping there. I don't have that information that there are police that slept there at the Oyster Box. I don't know where they were sleeping. What I know is that they would have found the accommodation from the hotels or those places that they would have slept to. But I under correction, for me, there would be no reason for the police to be sent to sleep at the oyster box, which I think Mamumeri speaks on it, that they were sleeping that oyster box. But if they were sleeping in the hotels, let's say minus oyster box, is not something that will be awkward and be based only in KZN, honorable member. There is a hotel here, as you drive, near, is it the Mountain View? Is Tape View? There's a place called Tape View here in Cape Town. There is a hotel that is on the water, there's on the sea. The South African police of Operation Thunder were living there. As you sleep, the waves are almost on your room in that hotel. So then it could not be the problem then of PKTT. So it could be the generic problem that we'll have to work on. So for me, my argument would not then, if that is your consideration, you would have dealt with one unit and let others sleep on the sea.
Now, General, I mean, you made some observations about. Sorry, Chair.
Honorable Malem.
I just want to ask General to remind us, Richard Mdluli, when he was arrested, was he not with another police officer called Kimba or Killer?
Yes.
What was Killer's role in the police at that time?
What was his?
Yeah, what was his role? Was he also in the
He's
crime
a
intelligence?
crime intelligence. He's still there. He's still in the police.
Has he not gone to Ikuruleni to work in the Ikuruleni there from Zwandile?
Why umbuza into oyaziyo? So I think he did go to Ugruleni, but I think it did come back to the CI. Yes, it did work for Ugruleni.
You may proceed, Chief.
Yeah. No, thanks, Chair. No, I mean, General, I just want to ask if you have any suggestions that you would like to leave with us, because you raise a concern about, and you identified it as a major problem confronting the police, the issue of, for a lack of a better word, I think you refer to easy bail, people getting bail easily. Never mind that they've committed crime for which the police are convinced conviction can be secured. I don't remember whether you have made any proposals about what exactly should be done, if any, if you have thought about it.
Actually, I would love to add on this thing of bail. There is another animal called parole. That's another big animal. Where people, I'm told, they are released on the good behavior in prison. And I don't know why you would have a good, how you have a good behavior in prison, because you're in prison. So you behave so because you're in prison. So we can get the numbers, but the numbers are quite bad of the repeat offenders of the parolees. So both parolees and the bail, they need to be looked very, very close, Honorable Chair. There is an argument that there are not too many criminals that are running amok among South Africans. But the problem of the courts and correctional service is the resupply of the criminals, that they come back. At some times, by the way, we are victims of our success, especially the police who are victims of our success. When I was there, Honorable Member, there were 3 bouts of parole under Minister Lamula. At one time there were 14,000, at other time there were 9,000 parolees at a go. The last one included Mkhwanazi, the parole, quoting that parole of 9,000. So it's an issue that when you follow them, you find them, some of them going back, having done the worst things and the original things that they've done, but also most they are found for the revenge. That they go back to those people that were witnesses and set them in prison and come back to them. I'm not saying that people, they must die in prison, but if there is a way of checking and thoroughly checking on the parole, they should be so. But when it comes to bail, I think the laws are there. There is this Schedule 6. If I'm not mistaken, the lawyers will help you. I'm told that the Schedule 6, you don't get the bail, especially if you're second Schedule 6 and all that kind of thing. So there are the laws that are there. But one thing that keeps cropping up with the bail is corruption. I don't know if the members are aware of the fire that is burning around the Judge Letwaba with a bail of Mlefe, that the Judge Letwaba was given 2.5 million to grant that bail. So there is that the magistrates are not very sympathetic to the work of the police. So if we can enhance those laws, let's do. But the laws are there. I hope people that are there to implement those laws can do the best.
Let me check with the Chief Whip first. Did you want to make a follow-up on the question before I... Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Nomval.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. No, I think we've heard you, General, on the police service, given your experience in there.
Of the bail or police in general?
Not bail, beyond the bail issue, which is one matter. All of these challenges that Honorable Nduli was asking about, that you've spoken at length over the last 2 days, is there anything that you think from a law perspective or an institutional reform perspective we should be considering?
Chairperson, I've said this time and again, or I heard Mkhwanazi talking about it here. I said this is a good learner. I've said it time and again. Sometimes I think those that I belong with them in the organization, they'll think I'm a rebel on it. We created the situation where victims are treated worse than the perpetrators. Perpetrators in South Africa are having it nice. And the victims are thrown under the bus by the system. Most of your kids here, they are at school, private school, you have houses, you have cars and all that. If one of you are shot and killed, that killer will be taken to police station. The first thing that will do will complain about cold water. Want a hot water. That's the first thing that I can't use cold water here. I want a hot water. And indeed, you run around like a headless chicken getting hot water for him. The second one will say, I don't eat this, I eat this. When he's sick, most of them are taken to private hospitals where they have never been. Go there. When they're sentenced, they sit with TV and they watch everything and still go enjoy their medication and all that. When they stay longer, they study until we have just been given the numbers of those that will be writing matric, and others, they come out with PhDs and all that. Where are the kids of the father that was shot by that person? Nobody knows. We have the track record and the follow-up of a perpetrator until gets the parole. But we don't know about the kids that as their father dies, they are taken out of their private school because they can't pay. Their cars is repossessed, their house is repossessed, and kids, we call them paras. The system is wrong. We just need to go back. It's sympathetic and it's good to perpetrators vis-a-vis the victims. I think that should be really, well, that is not a sour grape because people that follow my statements, publicly speaking, I've said that thing time and again. The police die young, maybe that's why we have subset and all that kind of thing. Even that, by the way, Honorable Malema, it's fun that we don't have the special education trust from the government that teaches the offense of the police that die on the line of duty. When we pay about 13,000 rand a month for a single prisoner, and those that are innocent, they get 350 rand. Then it's fine to go to prison. We pay 13,000 rands per prisoner a month. We pay 350 rand for a person that does not work and is hungry with the family. So people, they get comfort out of crime, out of committing crime. So I think we need to go back and check the system and see what we can do with the system as a whole. Thanks.
Honorable Nomvalo, Honorable Malema.
Yeah, thank you once again, Chair. I just want to establish from the General. When General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi was here, he said the reason why they formed this multidisciplinary approach or task team, it's because they were faced with an undesirable scenario where they arrest people today and see them out on bail on the following day. So one of the reasons why they formed it is because they wanted to circumvent that. Now, the question is, during your tenure, I know that you left it while it was doing its job. Is that kind of formation able to diffuse this thing that you call an animal, this one of a bail? And from a genuine and objective perspective point of view, I agree with you as a person who has been practicing as an attorney for 10 years. So I agree with your frustration because it is a prevalent problem that we have in our legal system. But is this an ideal formation that we can advise even to task teams which are currently in existence to say, because we are dealing with critical issues and we don't want to open gaps and loopholes, we must make sure that we have a multidisciplinary approach that will have SAPS, NPA, so that there will be no possibility for frivolous bails that are issued to criminals who will come back and be dangerous to society. Thank you very much.
We would term it a prosecutorial directed kind of investigations when they work together. Remember that in this task team initial, honorable member, there were this almost how many, 116 or 126 police with about 8 prosecutors working there. That did improve the situation. I think it's much better when the police investigators work together with the prosecutors. Mkhwanazi was correct, and the situation improved when the team was formed.
And the other thing you're proposing is that we need to democratize that thing of hiring of DDGs, where a national commissioner just can't appoint a person alone. Perhaps if we open it to a couple of people, depending on what could be the suggestion at the time. The same way Mdluli was hired where you've got a couple of ministers sitting together, inclusive of the national commissioner or anything to that effect, where these other people get hired, including provincial commissioners. We don't subject them to one individual.
Provincial commissioners or honorable member, they are in the constitution, so they are fine. They are in the constitution. The national commissioner in concurrence with the provincial government, so they agree on that. So again, a minimal play of the minister. They say if they can't agree, the minister comes and mediates. Immediately he mediates. So that will be an issue. So provincial commissioners are catered for. The problem are lieutenants generals who are TTGs. Honorable member, there is a way how TTGs are employed as we speak now. The TTGs, there will be a panel. I think the panel will be, I think DG will be 3 ministers and the DG from the other department. I think there will be 5 in panel, I forget the 5th one. But the DTG, it could be a minister of that department and with the deputies of that department, and is a little bit junior. But it's happening. The call here is that even with the police, it must happen as it happened across the government. You don't need to come with the new methods. Those methods exist. How they exclude police is a problem, because it's only you that you decide that I'm the TTG today. And indeed, you will keep reminding me, but by the way, you are TTG because I like it. So it is a problem.
Thank you so much, Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. General, there was a long discussion here with Minister Mkhwanazi about the appointment of a chief of staff. What has been your own practice in the appointment of your own chief of staff? Maybe if you can recall in the police, because that's the recent job you have left.
Chief of staff, there is a panel that chief of staff goes through, getting interviews and all that, and then they will recommend, and you've got, while there is a panel, you've got a very big say with the chief of staff that you agree with, but you don't sit on it. But as a minister, you do put the panel that will work on the matter, because it's a minister's employment, the chief of staff. But I can't wake up the next morning and shout that Mpele now is the chief of staff. There is a process nonetheless.
So the process is basically to look at the things that should not be bothering you, like check qualifications and all these other things. Now, who goes into that panel, not as a member, but to be considered as a chief of staff? Mangit, who? I mean, do you have to submit 3 names, 1 name? Who else? And how do people get to hear about it if I want to throw my name as well in the panel and be considered for the chief of staff of a minister?
I think it could be, chief of staff, it could be both, depending on the minister. You can internally advertise, or you can advertise externally, as it would have happened with especially the police body. Usually in the police, they start by advertising internally, and if you can't get that person, then you go externally. That's how it goes. The panel that would be there, and those that applied from outside, if it is if it is that the way it has been advertised, or internally, if it has been internal, and then they go through and they give and then they give the names to you, and you agree.
Okay. I'm left with two